contribute amounts that are frankly insulting to a voluntary system. Sport Pisa, who sponsor Everton, and Fun 88, who sponsor Newcastle, gave only £50 each last year. Both are white labels of the company TGP Europe. Best Bets gave £5. GFM Holdings Limited gave just £1. When we have 430,000 gambling addicts, 55,000 of whom are children, that is completely unacceptable and deliberately insulting to those leading players in the industry who are trying to take responsibility. Mr. Speaker, after today, we will still have inadequate regulation and a gambling act that is outdated and not fit for the digital age. We have gambling companies licensed in the UK, sponsoring UK football teams, yet operating entirely abroad, behaving irresponsibly and fueling addiction in countries like Kenya. We have companies allowing customers to lose tens of thousands of pounds on multiple credit cards in a single sitting. We have companies who, after a customer tries to self-exclude, bombards them with advertising emails and offers of free bets, then makes them sign NDAs when they settle. The gambling market is broken, and it's up to the government to fix it. We don't just need a voluntary patch, we need a full overhaul of the rules and regulations. I fear this Secretary of State and this government will fail in that task.
Just one slight question.
Okay.
Is Kenya just waking up to the fact that we needed to regulate the betting companies in the country?
That's a brilliant question.
Yes.
Only if we can define what is waking up.
Yes.
Because these people have been here. These organizations have been operating here.
Yes.
And these organizations were set legally. So no one is sleeping, no one is awake. The only problem here is who is kidding who. Because at the end of the day, these organizations were set legally. All the approval processes they went through, the regulation requirements they went through. So at the moment, where is catch-22? Is catch-22 on the part of the government where someone either in government has been obsolete, someone in government has not been doing their part?
Yes.
Or is it that these people have been running and the rate at which they are generating profit is scaring someone? So the question is not are we awake or are we asleep?
Yes.
The question is, what are we missing, especially when we are talking about the entire betting industry?
Yes. Is it not coming out clear from that clip we've just seen right now that the question really that, and I want us to talk about this topic from the betting companies that were given a clean bill as of Friday last week.
Okay.
Listen to them. Betika, Odibet, Mcheza, Shabiki, BetLoud.
Okay.
It's coming out that these are all local companies. Now, for all the other ones that were not given a clean bill, they're international companies.
Okay.
Isn't it?
Okay.
From that clip we've just watched right now, is it not okay to say the question is not about the profits they're making, it's about who are these companies and where is the bulk of the money going?
Okay. Simba, we cannot divorce the aspect of profitability and what we are faced with at the moment.
Yes.
Because if it was not for profitability, actually the entire conversation is this. These organizations last year made 200 billion
shillings, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
And they're saying that these people only gave us a measly
4 billion.
Exactly. A very measly figure. But that is what they gave directly. What have they been giving indirectly? In supporting infrastructure. These are the same people that are supporting sports.
Yes.
These are the same people that are doing charity events. So what we are trying to ask ourselves, and the conversation that we are having, especially for investors, none of these organizations, the ownership of Kenyans, even in the ones that you've mentioned, you'll get is a very measly figure.
Yes.
So what we are trying to have a conversation on is, at what point did these people fall out of love with the regulators? In Kenya today, you cannot conduct business without the scrutiny of the regulators.
Yes.
Yes, Simba.
Yes.
Yes.
This is a question that I want to ask you before we come and analyze this data and you tell me the story that is really going on in the betting industry in Kenya.
Okay.
17 business persons have already been deported out of this country.
Okay.
It's not the first time that the government has demanded, number one. Now, we do know in the 2019-2020, it's now within law that you have to pay withholding tax.
Yes.
There's tax on deposits and then
Yes.
a tax on winnings.
Yes, yes.
That's fine. So when you ask this question, if within the 2019-2020 budget, we've said we are going to tax them more and more, doesn't it therefore tell you that it doesn't just stop there? There's another narrative, and I want you to listen to this.
Okay.
This statement that the ones that have not been given a clean bill
Sure.
still are yet to meet undisclosed.
Exactly.
Let's underline that, man.
Exactly.
It's undisclosed.
Exactly.
So you and me are not supposed to know what this is, but we do know that the Licensing and Betting Act is just an open.
Yes.
You can go read it
Yes,
right now.
exactly.
And then you can actually start to ask yourself the questions, which company is this that has not
Compliant.
fulfilled?
Yes.
When you look at that, it's neither here nor there.
Very
isn't
much.
it?
Very much.
So are we, and I want to go back to the first one.
Sure.
Are we therefore just realizing, no, we should have done more into this act?
It's not a question of should we have done more, because Kenya being a Commonwealth country,
Yes.
even from the excerpt that we have received,
Yes.
is that we are trying to borrow here and there, and we are copy pasting part of regulations that have worked in other countries.
Yes.
Some of these things are not just done out of oblivion. Most of these regulations, most of these acts are actually acts that we have transferred from other jurisdictions.
Yes.
The question here is, why is the government being arbitrary? That is the fundamental question. Because who issues the license?
It is the same government, isn't it?
No. The government issues the license in the interest of the Kenyans.
Yes.
Because these are public officials. So a public official executes a license in the interest of the Kenyan.
Yes.
So let me ask you, if I'm supposed to award you with a license, then why do I ambush you with qualifications that are not even clear? So the question ought to be, what is the government hiding?
Yes.
Or who is the government trying to deal with? Some of these organizations are just collateral effects. That could it be that the government is just after one individual, but because you're in close proximity with that one individual,
Yes.
then this individual will fall on you. So the question here is, why is the government being arbitrary? That is the fundamental question. I would wish, Simba, that we don't digress to smokescreen conversation.
Yes.
Smokescreen conversation is, these guys are not paying tax. These guys are paying taxes.
Of course, they're paying taxes,
Yes,
isn't it? And
yes.
that's the clean picture. Now, I just want to really get the conversation this morning.
Yes.
The clean picture is when the government demanded tax, they actually did pay it.
Yes,
Now,
they
we know
did.
as of March 10th,
Yes.
KRA was demanding more than 14.9 billion shillings from these betting companies.
Okay.
They were asking for it. The government got it.
Okay.
But now the question is this,
Yes,
therefore.
yes.
Why do we have constantly their betting licenses getting cancelled from time to time? Is it not a question of saying, in this country, the culture of betting is not supposed to be there? We've seen the same conversation go down in Uganda. Are we saying that betting for this country is a culture business and it steps outside what Kenya supports as a culture when it comes to business? Do we just leave it there and say, therefore, okay, the government, you can push them out?
That's a good
Yes.
question. When you're talking about culture in business,
Yes.
actually in the constitution, being an advocate, the constitution of Kenya says that this constitution recognizes culture as the cumulative civilization of
Yes.
the Kenyan people. But this is the problem. Is betting a moral issue, a cultural issue, an ethical issue, or a legal issue?
Yes.
Betting is not a moral issue. Because if betting was a moral issue, all of us would be born with that moral capacity within us
Yes.
to repel betting. So betting is merely just like the alcohol industry. It's
Yes.
an addiction. Anything that one does without regulating, self-regulation on your individual self as an individual, then that thing becomes an addiction.
Yes.
The question of betting is not a question of morality. And the problem that started, especially in the case of Sport Kenya, started when the government introduced the 20% withholding tax. And the first person to say this was not fair was Sport Pesa.
Pesa,
They
yes.
said this is not fair. Why? Because the same person who has gotten 10 million shillings equally goes through like 4 different other taxations.
Yes.
So the problem is, are we not overtaxing this individual? That is the question.
Yes.
So after that, then someone from somewhere purported that now we need to regulate these people.
Yes.
Betting has existed even before the days of Christ.
Yes.
Actually, they even betted on Christ's clothes. You know, so it's not an issue of moral question. This is a business, this is an industry, and it's an industry that will always attract investors. Investors, like in any other market space, they have self-interest.
Yes.
Yes, Simba.
Let's just go back and look at the data that we're working with right now.
Sure.
Business Daily did an analysis of exactly what's been happening
Sure.
across the world and around the country when it comes to betting.
Okay.
I just want us to go back to exactly how withholding tax on winnings in the betting industry. I just want us to look at England, which you can go full frame now, so we can look at this data properly. Now, good. You go to Finland, it's at 9%.
Okay.
If you go to Denmark, it's at 20%. If you come to Kenya, it is at 20%.
Yes, yes.
If you go to Italy,
Yes.
it's at 24%.
Yes.
But that is not where it starts now. I just want us to go taxation on betting industry revenue in various
Jurisdictions.
countries.
Okay.
Let's start on it.
Okay.
Kenya now.
Okay.
If you go back to 2017, we were actually at 7%.
Okay. Okay.
And now if you go back to where we are right now, 2019, July, we are 35%.
Yes.
A jump of more than 28%.
Yes. Yes.
What do these numbers tell you?
These numbers tell us one thing,
Yes.
that when betting was being taxed at 7%, we were trying to encourage the industry. Actually, as at then,
Yes.
government did not even understand it. So it was this thing like, let's see what will come out of this. Is
Yes.
it something that will attract our interest? Is it something that will attract and whet our appetites? Like the analogy you're giving
Yes,
of wet
yes,
eggs. Eh?
yes.
Is it something that will whet our appetite?
Yes, yes.
And these people have proved to government that this thing is actually a cash cow, and
Yes.
government is actually a greedy individual. So that's why government is trying to say that let us try to discourage Kenyans from betting, and the only way we are going to discourage Kenyans from betting is by slapping taxes on these people. But that is not actually the case. The case is government is trying to explore alternatives of how we can meet our labor.
Yes.
We can meet our bill, our wage bill as at now. And so what we are trying to do here is just a proof enough that this industry is actually a cash cow.
Yes.
It's actually one of the industries in Kenya today that is giving people handsome returns. Yes, Simba.
Now, KRA,
Yes.
as of June,
Yes.
is demanding 26 billion shillings
yes.
in tax arrears from the betting firms in
Yes,
the country.
yes.
Now, whether this goes on or not, we are actually saying that whatever the government says when it comes to betting firms in this country, it goes.
Yes.
Because, as we already know, is within law that now you're going to get taxed thrice in terms of anything that you do with betting money. Good.
Okay.
Let's just cross over therefore
Okay.
and talk about betting tax jumped to 1 billion shillings.
Okay.
To 3.6 billion shillings.
Okay.
Doesn't stop there.
Okay.
Now, the sector could be making, now this is when the numbers start kicking, 200 billion shillings in annual revenue.
Yes.
I want us to really look at this and say, look, is it okay, for a sector that makes 200 billion shillings
Okay.
to just give back 3.6 billion? Is the government justified, therefore, to say no? Because if you look at other sectors, only just corporate tax is around 15%,
Okay.
isn't it?
Okay.
But now you come to this sector where it is 3.6 billion out of just 200.
Yes.
Is the government justified to say, no, we need to tax you more?
The question of taxation, Simba, is not actually a question of is it okay.
Yes.
It's the question of, according to the weights and measures as at now,
Yes.
have I dispensed my duty? That's the question. According to what you guys have laid, have I met the threshold? I'm telling you for free, none of these organizations would be operating today if they had not met their threshold as far as taxation is concerned. The only problem here is government has come to a point whereby it's gotten greedy. What do you do to a greedy animal? It's either you starve it or it will eat the hell of you.
Yes.
So that is where government is. Government is in a position whereby, and the question is not a matter of is it okay? Let me ask you, if I give if you approach me with an adventure that
Yes.
hey, I want to do this, and I'm projecting that I will be doing this, and the revenue that I'll be generating in this process would be X. What happens when the revenue generate turns out to be XYZ? Then do I go back and then try to reorganize myself that, oh, you guys, you only misrepresented.
Yes.
Had you guys not foreseen that you guys would be making this amount of money?
Yes.
So it's not a question of, is it okay? And that's why I'm asking, if KRA is telling us that these people owe us 26 billion, on what taxes? Are these taxes codified? Are they defined? Or are they taxes that we are trying to ambush the industry with?
Just want us to look at some of the things that have really happened within this time that show you that the government is trying everything possible, is trying to relook this area in different ways. Number one, there's a bill that was almost pushed into law that there was no to be advertising using celebrities. Number two, when that failed, they came with another one. Gambling using a phone was to attract 10 million shillings fine. There is another one. That now there will not be bets below 50 shillings. And I want you to answer this question as regards the numbers that we're getting from the government. That 500,000 youth have already been blacklisted. And partly this could be blamed on betting. Another one is that more than 50% of those who bet, they are from lower income regions in the country. Is that okay for us to therefore say, maybe it's true, therefore we need to sit down and relook this issue and regulate them further?
Let me ask you, Simba, the question of is it okay? And that's why I'm trying to actually move us from that conversation of is
that
it
it's
okay?
not okay.
Yeah, it's not a conversation of is it okay. How many people get pregnant out of condoms getting torn? Do we punish condom companies that had you guys foreseen this?
Yes.
You guys ought to have foreseen this. Two, how many people die out of reckless driving, out of intoxication?
Yes.
Do we come back again and say, you liquor companies, you know, it's not a question of is it okay. Government should never be a moral watch person of its citizenry.
Yes.
That is never the mandate of government. And any government that purports to actually operate on the thresholds of morality is losing one of their cardinal rules.
Yes.
Morality is me. I choose. If I would have come here naked, you would have told me, no, this is not what Metropole stands for.
Yes.
Exactly. So that is, up to that point, it's a question of ethics. This is what we stand for. This is what identifies with our brand. Now, when we go back to the entire conversations of betting, let me ask you this. You're telling me this is an industry, right? This industry complies with the law. And you're telling me that in this industry, for you guys to appeal to your clients, you don't need to use celebrities. Does it make sense?
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. So which means government is actually clutching on straws. Government is trying to become a jealous lover. Yes. So the question here ought to be, why is the government doing this, and who, if anyone, is the government trying to target? Is the government trying to target specific foreign nationals who are investing in the betting industry? So that if we look at it, and the good thing with being an advocate, I am trained to be a conspiracy theorist. I never take things at the face value. And then I'm asking myself, okay, these other measly Kenyan betting companies, right? And we are saying that gambling is doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is improper. Let me ask you this. The PS, the other day, the PS for housing, came up with a proposal that when we guys will be executing the affordable housing program, the only way people will be getting these houses is on lottery. What is lottery? That's gambling.
Last question on this, just before we move into another big issue.
Yes.
So for you, from where you stand,
yes,
we do know Sport Pesa is already trying to challenge all that is getting thrown to it.
Yes.
We're waiting to see what happens to the permits and licenses of the companies that have not been relicensed yet. From where you stand, where do you see this going?
Where I stand is government will always have what government wants. Whether hook, through hook or crook, government will always have. This is the most perfect analogy of government. Government will fight you with this hand, and government will send you to this other hand. That, hey, see if you can get redress from this other hand. Then what is it? Government will still fight you because you're fighting the same person with two hands. At the end of the day, government will always have its way. But the issue is, the issue here is, in government having its way, how many people has SportPesa sponsored? How many teams today? Even they have their own league.
Yes.
SportPesa League. You know, in taxation, there is this some of these tax incentives that government gives.
Yes.
That if you can commit to doing this, then we shall do you this in taxation. So most of this is called tax. There is a good word for it in tax law. I was not good in tax law, but there is also that word that and that's why every organization today is committing a substantial amount of money in CSR, because in CSR, then government cautions you from taxation. And I'm telling you, SportPesa, I'm not their mouthpiece. I'm not their mouthpiece. I'm just giving another analyst. You know, they don't pay me. They don't pay me. So I'm not an analyst. But what we are trying to do here is government, at the end of the day, whether hook or through crook, government will have its way. But the problem is, what would be the ripple devastating effects in sports as an industry? Because as at now, government is not even supporting sports. Yes, Simba.
Something to think about, isn't it?
Yes.
All right. This conversation goes on online. Hashtag Business AM. We are live on YouTube. You can get us there. Also, I'm at Charles_Kiage. Let's get talking about these conversations now.
Yes.
Another big issue.
Okay.
Well, the CS Agriculture now says that the incessant attacks he has faced following his stand on maize shortage are pure political witch hunt. Now, the minister on Sunday accused Orange Democratic Movement leader Raila Odinga and other leaders of misleading Kenyans on the plan to import maize. He noted it's a cabinet decision, not a personal one. Mr. Odinga on Friday urged the ministry to shelve its planned importation of maize, claiming the shortages is artificial and meant to benefit cartels. He said he consulted widely with farmers and was deeply disturbed by conflicting reports on the need to import large stocks of maize ahead of the August-September harvest. I want us to approach this issue like this. And I don't know whether it's okay for us to approach it like this.
Okay.
Is it okay for a sitting CS to mention politics and to engage politicians when it comes to running the ministry? Is it not out of the law? Or is it within his mandate to actually say, this is politics, this is witch hunt, and you're trying to taint my political image? He's not a politician. Every Kenyan would like to think of it like that.
Okay.
Is it okay?
Okay, it's again, it's not a question of is it okay. The question is it proper?
Is it proper?
Yes, is it proper? It's very improper.
Yes.
One, let me ask you this. Every CS serves at the pleasure of the president.
Yes.
So whenever you meet a PS, you're actually meeting the president. So he becomes the person of the president. So who is the president? The president is a politician. So by extension, every CS has that political aspect to their service delivery.
Yes.
So it's something that you cannot take away from them. When you go to when you get a cow, do you get a cow or do you also get poo? You will not say that I wanted milk. That cow will also come with milk and poo.
Yes.
Yeah. So equally, even in CS, going over their public service mandates, part of that touches on political policy. Because in our country today, there are two centers of policy. There are also centers of policy from a point of administration, from a point of this is administrative policy.
Yes.
But there's also another point of policy that this is political policy. But let's dial back. The question was, as you had asked me, is it okay? No, it's not okay. Because as far the mandate of what we had, Uhuru actually purported by saying, I want to have people who will work with me. And these people who will work with me, they will not have political interest.
Isn't it?
But they are advancing Uhuru's political interest.
Yes.
So how do you divorce the two?
It's neither here nor there, isn't it?
No.
Okay. Let's come to the next one now.
Okay.
The Big Four agenda.
Okay.
One thing that sticks big in the Big Four agenda.
Yes.
Food security.
Food security.
But amidst food security, you and me, who are Kenyans, we've seen money getting lost to dams that we never got to see. Number two, we have projects like the Galana Kulalu projects that have never given Kenyans anything, and we don't know exactly what's going to come from there. But the biggest thing that we've seen with this government is that year in, year out, A government that rides on the promise of food security
Yes.
as the only 4 things they want to look into.
Yes.
Food problems and maize.
Sure.
Now Kenyans are buying them at 150 shillings.
Yes.
Which CS wants
Yes.
will jump up if it doesn't get the support that it needs to import the 12.5 million bucks.
Yes.
But then on the side,
Yes.
there's another board
Yes.
called the Food Reserve
Yes.
that says
Yes.
we do have 2.5 million bucks, so we don't need to import
Yes.
as we wait for the harvest.
Yes.
That this can caution the government.
Yes.
Then the CS Agriculture says, no, we don't. We need to import. These are 2 bodies that have been appointed by this government to caution the country under food security.
Yes.
But these 2 are fighting.
Yes.
Is it not time, therefore, to come and say, gentlemen, why are you fighting? Shouldn't you step aside?
No, actually, it's not a question of gentlemen, should you step aside? If you
Yes.
come to my house and I give you a position,
Yes.
and my daughter tells you, no, what my dad has told you is a lie, I'll slap my daughter.
Yes.
Not that I'm a violent person, but I'll slap my daughter.
Yes.
The food reserve is just a parastatal within a
Yes.
ministry. So which means this person is actually doing what is called insubordination to the person who is their master.
Yes.
In law, it's called a master,
Yes.
of course. But the question here is, who has the jurisdictional mandate even to advise cabinet? Is it the Food Reserve Authority?
Yes.
No, it's not.
It's not.
It's the ministry.
It's the ministry.
It's the ministry.
Yes.
To the
and the
extent-
information flow
Yes.
should come from the ministry,
Yes,
isn't it? Everybody
yes.
would like to think like
Yes,
that.
yes,
isn't
yes,
it?
yes.
Yes.
Now, this is the problem. The conversation on the Big Four agenda, and this is what I've been asking people every day.
Yes.
After the Big Four agenda, what will we be gravitating toward? Because when His Excellency President Kibaki left us with a long-term goal that you guys, can we move to Vision 2030? And then he left. And then he set in place infrastructure that would support us to realize Vision 2030. Uhuru comes into the picture and Uhuru says, okay, you guys, let us leave aside Vision
The
2030
Vision 2030.
and let's look at the Big Four agenda.
Yes.
So which one has precedence? Is it Vision 2030 or is it
The Big Four agenda.
the Big Four agenda? The
Yes.
beautiful thing is that even in Vision 2030, we have food security.
Yes.
But food security from the angle of Vision 2030 is sustainable. That can we grow infrastructures, that this infrastructure will support us not only feeding our people, but this infrastructure will also metamorphose into agribusiness.
Yes.
Yes. So what we are trying to do here is the Big Four agenda, and what Kiunjuri's CS is saying is actually CS is misleading Kenyans. No sooner, you remember that English of no sooner had?
No sooner
Okay.
had he said
Okay. No sooner had he mentioned that than group of pockets of farmers
Yes.
said, no, we have maize that you guys are not buying.
Yes.
So who is Mwangi Kiunjuri? Is it Mwangi Kiunjuri?
Yeah, it's Kiunjuri. Yes.
Kiunjuri. Who is he helping? The problem that we have with Kenya and the problem that we have with governance, that we have never developed public governance doctrine, whereby if you don't meet up to this threshold, you cannot work for government.
Yes.
This is a CS that, or not on one occasion, not on 2 occasions, has misled government and has opened up pockets to enrich a few. So the question of food and food security is a question of privatization. A few people having monopoly on what you will feed.
Yes.
Actually, I'm telling you for a fact, there are some of these rich people, some of these rich cahoots, they have actually now maize being stacked in some of their godowns. They're just waiting for that thing that will come, that, hey, you guys, we have been given a clear bill to that. Can we import maize?
And then after that, now we can
Yes.
see that this
Make
getting
a kill.
flooded in the market, isn't
Make
it?
a
And make
kill.
a kill.
Yes.
So you say that, therefore, what happens, sir? Because Kenyans are just waiting to see what the government does to rectify the situation.
Yes.
But amidst all this, now we have a CS who, number one, has infighting from a board that is
Yes.
supposed to receive information from
Yes,
him,
yes.
has infighting from sections of parliament
Yes.
who are at loggerheads of whether
Very.
we should import or
Very.
not. But as opposed to all this going, we're seeing fights without
Yes.
how to unlock this maze that everybody's talking about. We
Yes.
have,
Yes.
but we don't see where it is.
Yes. The issue that the politicians have, especially members of parliament, they have an issue with the CS on a point of your morality, not even morality, your character as an individual.
Yes.
And actually there's a member of parliament who said, mkiona wakisema hivi, haimaanishi ati wanaongoja, hapana, actually hii ship iko karibu kudok.
I see now.
You know,
I see now.
so the problem, and what CS is actually trying to mislead Kenyans, it's not a point of government that cabinet will actually vote on this thing. Him as the one who is managing that docket of agriculture,
yes,
he has what is called advisory privileges to cabinet. And his advisory privileges is what most of these people have actually all the time misused. That as the CS of agriculture, it's within my mandate, it's within my jurisdiction. You the PS of you the CS of education, yes, you have no say. You don't even know if I'm lying. You don't even know if what I'm telling is the truth. So I have that advisory privilege in cabinet, that if I tell you guys we need 12.4 million bags, then we need, why? Because it's your duty. It's your duty to ensure that all of us are fed. But that is what the point that he's lying, that it's not an issue of an individual, it's the issue of the collective cabinet. No, I will influence cabinet. And actually, at the end of it all, the president will move. You know, when the president actually, what CS wants the president to admit is that we have a state of emergency as far as food is concerned. Yes, and when the president commissions that, it actually tells us indirectly that we have a state of emergency. What we did last time is, in us ordering maize from Mexico, we had breached regional protocols that we have at the East African region.
Yes.
Because according to the East African protocol is that if you guys have an issue, the first people who should come to your aid is us.
First,
yes.
It?
It's not only us. You guys did not even go to ECOWAS. You guys do not go. You guys went all the way to Mexico. Yes. So and that's the issue, that most of these people are not just being honest. Most of these people don't have the best interest of Kenyans at heart.
Not me, but it's coming out. So the question is, how much are you buying your unga this morning as we speak? Are you going to take lunch? How much is it going to cost you for your 2-kilogram packet of maize? But we have no solution for you. The only thing that we can tell you is that the government and the people involved are still fighting. We don't know where the farmers stand. We don't know where the Food Reserve Board stands. We don't know where CS Kinjuri stands. What we do know is that he is supposed to meet the president in just a couple of days to talk about the maize situation in the country. What can I say? Let's wait and see. Good. Now let's cross over to what US thinks about the country. Now, investment climate statement that assesses receptivity to foreign investment in more than 170 countries indicates that Kenya has a positive investment climate that has made it attractive to international firms seeking a location for regional or Pan-African operations. The State for Department declares at the outset of its revenue of Kenya's economic, political and security status, investors are warned, however, now listen to this, that corruption remains deeply rooted in Kenyan society and economy. Quote, there are many reports that corruption often influences the outcomes of government tenders and firms have limited success bidding on public procurement, the statement points out. Now, the report also indicates that Kenya has made substantial steps in capital markets and inflation. Now, the current government came into power with a promise to end corruption in the country. 3 years to go of power, the country still grapples with corruption challenges, with corruption cases taking ages to settle. I don't know, man. I mean, corruption cases. Every time you tell Kenyans about corruption and what every government is trying to do to fight corruption, Kenyans are desperate now. We are at the point of despair. Right?
Yes.
This is something that we have to live with now. We've seen the president come out in many instances to threaten.
Okay.
But when it comes to what have they done so far amid these threats? Cases go to court, we never get to see where they end up in. When do we start to think of it? Because even now, foreign countries know that our biggest challenge is corruption.
Corruption.
Yes.
Yes. I'm a good reader. I normally I wish to pretend that I'm a good reader.
Yes.
One of the books I read a book by Nikolai Gogol. And Nikolai Gogol wrote a book called The Government Inspector, whereby a young individual misled the entire state machinery to believe that he was the government inspector.
Yes.
And then when the government inspector actually arrives, everyone now laughs at the mayor. And the mayor asked a beautiful question. The mayor asked this question: what are you laughing at? You're laughing at yourselves. So the question of, are we corrupt? We are corrupt. We are a corrupt people.
Yes.
Our thoughts are corrupt. Even every individual, I'm telling you, every individual on the streets of Kenya is actually thinking of, how do I get an opportunity to corrupt and to steal? In Kenya, is corruption a moral issue? No, corruption is a crime, an offense.
It's an offense.
It's an offense.
Yes.
So when we try to reduce corruption conversations to that, it's purely moral. No. We are offending the law.
Yes.
What this statistics, what this research is coming up to tell us is what we already know. There's this conversation actually which was happening on social media 2 weeks ago, and someone made a stupid joke. And someone asked that this organization has come up with the list of the most corrupt countries in the world, and the guy was saying, I can't see Kenya. Kenya is missing. Yes. And so someone retorted with a stupid joke, and he said, when you're counting sinners, do you count the devil? Oh, you know, when you just want to count sinners, do you count the devil? No, you don't count the devil. Yes. Kenya, as far as corruption is concerned,
yes,
we can be equated with the devil. With the devil. When this gentleman, who is the Secretary General of Trade in the UN,
yes,
Muhisa,
yes,
Dr. Muhisa, when he brought Jack Ma here, Jack Ma claimed that every state official wanted kickbacks.
Think about that.
Yes, and then the guy went next door, and now on the international stage, Jack Ma is actually promoting the Rwandan coffee.
Think about
on
that.
The international stage.
Think about
when
that.
Aliko Dangote came and he wanted to set up plant for his cement.
Yes.
The same thing. Most of these public officials actually wanted kickbacks. The guy went next door, set up a plant in Ethiopia, and even in Ethiopia, he has been given a citizen status.
Think about that.
Yes. So the issue here is, Kenya is corrupt to the core. Our churches are corrupt. Religious organizations, they are very corrupt. Our education infrastructure is purely corrupt. So the issue here is, what these guys are saying is actually, Kenya is the springboard. If you want to do business in Africa, Kenya is the springboard.
Yes.
You want to do business in the region, Kenya is the springboard.
Yes.
But equally what comes with that is that there are demonic people. I'm not religious, but there are very bad people who are actually positioned at key places, and they will always ask for kickbacks. It's not a secret. Even the president himself knows.
He knows that,
Yes.
isn't it? So let's go back, because it falls back to this government that we're running. Because when it comes to corruption, everybody will look at the state officials and how the government is being run.
Yes.
I just want to give him a score. It is 3 years for him to step down.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
The second term is just about to end. On a scale of 1 to 10, where will you put this government in terms of fighting corruption?
Yes, 1 to 10 is far. I wish you even gave me 1 to 5. 1 to 10 is far.
Yes.
I wish you were a little generous.
Yes.
You would give the guy from 1 to 5, and I would give him a 0.
We're at 0.
A 0.
Does it concern you that since he took power,
Yeah.
amid all the corruption cases in different ministries, in different sectors, in different industries, that we have only seen one CS get fired under his term? Is it that concerning really that much?
Very much. That is actually very concerning. And sometimes I tend to think, when the gentleman came to power, the gentleman did not have a plan. The gentleman did not have a plan. And in his heart of hearts,
Yes.
you know, especially us guys, and I wish, I'm sorry for using this analogy, us guys, have you ever gone at a woman and you make advances at a woman and then she says yes, and you're like, ah, man, I was just joking. You know, I was just joking. You took me seriously.
I was just kidding.
I was joking. You know, in your heart, you know, I wasn't serious. You know, it was just an adrenaline thing. Yeah. So actually, the president, if we can fit the same analogy, Uhuru was seducing us.
Yes.
And actually, one of the things that Uhuru, the reason why he wanted the presidency was so that his case could go away. That was his only agenda.
Yes.
In his heart of hearts, when he's sleeping in his bed, Uhuru knows he has failed this nation. He has failed us. He has failed what we believe in. He has failed what we are gravitating toward. One of the only things that I usually say that Uhuru was meant to be a president for this one purpose is when Obama was here. And Obama was trying to push the gay agenda.
Yes.
And Uhuru said, by the way, as far as I'm concerned, that is a non-issue.
Yes.
I think his entire presidency can be reduced to that one phrase.
Yes.
But the capacity as an individual to move this nation, the capacity, because the gentleman lied. You know, the day when they were campaigning and they said that we are going to put out 96 stadia. We are going to put out this.
It's actually in public domain. Everybody does know that.
What do you do when you've lied? What do you do? The most honorable thing to do when you've lied is like, you guys, I think, like, I don't have the moral turpitude to continue governing.
I lied, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I lied.
Yes.
You know, and lying is not an issue of sorry. Because when you lied, it shows inwardly as an individual, you are not trustworthy, you're not honest. Let me ask you this. There's a doctrine called the doctrine of political responsibility. And most advanced civilizations, they have taken this doctrine very seriously. When the British PM tried to push for Brexit and he failed, what was the most honorable thing the guy did? The guy resigned.
Yes.
Why? Because I have lacked the moral turpitude to move an entire nation to stand with me.
Yes.
President Uhuru Kenyatta, not on one occasion. Actually, if I'm running short of fingers to count. So the issue of corruption stops with the president. In whichever sphere you want to look at it from, in whichever market aspect, even in market aspects, in markets, corruption is actually some of those things that is really entrenched. And that is why the former CEO of the late Kolimo, he came and he stood and he said, by the, as far as business is concerned, us guys, we want to change the narrative. We want to change the reason why people do business with organizations. Why? Because even in any organization today, the procurement guy will ask you for kickbacks.
True that.
Yeah, by the our budget is 2 million, but you get 2.7. Kumbuka your 700 nyango. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. Not a good picture. Now let's cross over and talk about another issue this morning that you have to be aware of. Now, the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, that's the EPRA, has announced new retail pump prices of petroleum products effective from July 15th. That's today, to August 14th, 2019. That's in a month's time. Now, the price of super petrol increases by 0.29, that's 29 cents per litre, while diesel and kerosene decreased by 88 cents and 2 and 31 shillings respectively per diesel. Now, the changes in this month's prices have been as a consequence of the average landed cost of imported super petrol decreasing by 1.83% from 55 shillings, from 55,469.46. That is around 538.8 USSD per cubic meter in May 2019 to 54,384 and 37 cents. It's around 528.26 USD. Now, EPRA said in a statement to newsrooms following the changes, super petrol in Nairobi, now be aware of this, it's going to cost you 115 shillings and 39 cents. Diesel, you should be a bit happy, 103 and 88 cents, and kerosene 101.97 per litre. In Mombasa, super petrol will retail at 112.74 cents, diesel 101.25 cents, and kerosene at 99.35 cents per litre. Now in Nakuru, you'll buy super petrol at 115.86 cents, diesel at 104.58 cents, and kerosene at 102.69 cents. Now, EPRA, that is the Energy Petroleum Regulatory Authority, linked this to the rise to a 5.17% annual inflation tax adjustment, which affected certain goods that attract excise duty like fuel, alcohol, cigarettes, and motorcycles. Fuel remains one of the most heavily taxed commodities, with 6 levies and 2 taxes for petrol and diesel, which begs the question, should the government find a way of cushioning the country when it comes to issues cost of fuel?
Should the government find a way? I would wish to edit that question so that I can answer it.
Yes.
The question, the way I would edit it would be this way.
Yes.
Is it in the interest of government to cushion people?
Yes.
You know, the truth here is there a person in government today
Yes.
who is not aware of the living condition of the average Kenyan? Is there any person in government today who can say, Kenyans are rich?
Yeah.
You know, is there someone that can say that, but actually these guys have cash? No one.
No one.
No one.
No one.
Even the president, he knows a huge part of his constituency, people who voted for him, are actually going to bed on empty stomachs.
Yes.
So which means, are they not aware? They are aware. But let me ask, there's something that you brought out, which I would wish also to reinforce.
Yes.
What is fuel to us guys? Because fuel to us guys, especially this time, has proved to be our cash cow.
Yes.
Kenyans are buying cars. The other day, there's a show I was watching here, and there's a lady who said that in Nairobi alone, there are over 2 million pikipikis.
Yes.
You know, that's a lot of
That's
cash.
a lot of cash,
That's
isn't
a
it?
lot of
Yes.
cash. And as we had said earlier, government is a greedy individual that goes on eating.
Yes.
So it's either you have what I want to eat or I will eat you.
Yes. Would you say that it's justifiable of EPRA to look at where our inflation is at of this month, which is at 5.17%,
Yes.
and say, maybe we need to readjust as per the inflation?
The issue here is it justifiable? Government will always justify, because government says that, hey, you guys, we have budgets.
Yes.
You know, you guys want roads. You si mnataka barabara. Then your barabara ikamiki bure. Utaka wode. You wode ikamiki bure.
Yes.
But let me ask this. Is government out of options? Is government out of options?
Would you say
Yes.
that we are out of options since we are fighting a huge budget deficit?
Okay.
Would you say so,
Okay.
therefore?
We being us guys, or we being the government?
The government,
The
in
government.
this sense,
The
yes.
government is out of options.
Yes.
Because let me ask you this. The average Kenyan, they're saying, out of every graduate walking on the street,
Yes.
75% of them are either unemployed or underemployed.
Yes.
So let me ask, how many people are actually sustaining the Kenyan economy? Less than 2 million people are sustaining 40-something million plus Kenyans.
If you factor in the underemployment and
Yes.
unemployment,
Yes,
isn't
yes,
it?
yes. So which means actually the people who are paying taxes in Kenya, direct taxes, are less than 2 million people.
Yes.
So which means that of the entire populace, and that's why I'm asking, is government out of options? Is government out, excuse me, is the government out of alternatives?
Yes.
That the only way of us meeting this, and one of the only ways of government getting revenue is through taxation. One of the most legitimate ways
Yes.
is through taxation. So the issue would be, these guys, I want to get money from all these people.
Yes.
Yes. So which way should I do? I'll use taxes. It's the only legitimate
only
way
legitimate
in
way.
government,
Yes.
for us to generate revenue. But is government equally out of innovativeness to generate revenue? And that's whereby government is actually out of innovation to generate revenue.
Yes.
If government would create environments whereby people could thrive, then no one would be crying. But because government has the inability to create the infrastructure, the social or the economic ecosystem for people to thrive, whereby as Simba, today you can thrive. As me as an individual with my small practice,
Yes.
I can thrive.
Yes.
If I can thrive to a point whereby I have what is quote unquote surplus, I will not feel a pain paying that tax.
Yes.
But in this point where we are saying here is government has come to a point whereby government has astronomical projections. They have big appetites, but the problem is the inlets of revenue are very minimal.
Yes.
So what do? Let us pinch these people to give more.
All right, I just want us to clear this morning conversation like this. We do know that as from today, taxi operators were on strike. So the question is, did you take a taxi to work today in the morning? Was your app functional? Did you request for Uber, bold, little cup, and then they said, sorry, we can't give you a taxi today because we are on strike? If that didn't happen, the question is it possible for us to realize a full shutdown of taxi services in the country? Because when we look at the demands that they have, in one way or another, you say they're legitimate. Just one response from you on that.
The issue with the taxi company and the taxi strike today is an issue that is growing.
Yes.
Out of another question that we had asked about government. And the question about taxi, how do people compete on business in Kenya? People compete on price wars.
Yes.
Yes. So if I want to cut you down, that's what Uber is trying. Uber is actually reactive at the market space, because I want to push my product, and I'm not pushing my product necessarily on value proposition.
Yes.
I'm pushing my product on cost implication. That, hey, do you know you can do 35 a kilometer? Yes, we're only charging you 35. You know, 35.
Yes.
And this other guy who is coming, by the way, he'll be charging you 60 or 55. Yes. So let me ask us this, and this is now the space whereby anyone who is in business today and is trying to compete with his colleagues or with his competition in the whichever ecosystem you find yourself in, and you're pegging your competition on price is different from value.
Yes.
Very many of us who are competing on price will sooner than later realize that we will be obsolete in our market because we are not being innovative.
Yes.
There are people who are charging astronomical, but they're still in business. Why? Because of value attached to what they're selling. That is what actually, and the question is not that were we involved in some of these conversations. There are certain conversations that I will take as a point of policy as an individual.
Yes.
I'm the one running this platform, and from that aspect, then it's just a point of policy conversation. Some policy conversations will be dealt with without necessarily calling the driver. You know, I won't call the owner of the taxi, the cab. I've done my maths. But the problem here is the person who sits at the policy table of some of these organizations. If we really just dilute our competition and we are merely competing on price, it's not sustainable. And that is what every organization in Kenya today is doing.
Yes.
Whether telcos, whether people in the financial industry, whether people in manufacturing, we are purely competing on price. Yes, Simba.
This morning, we come to the end of Metropole Review. Now you know. As you get your fuel prices up in Nairobi, you do know why. If you're going to buy kerosene, you do know why. If you're going to ask for a tender in a government office and they ask you for some kickback, you do know why. We've said we're a corrupt nation, and it doesn't stop or end. If you're trying to bet today on SportPesa, AFCON is on, and you don't see it happening, you do know why. Good morning. We take a short break.